up, Internet? I am Adam Dilbeck, one of the co-hosts of the Mid-Marketers. I'm here with my other co-host.
Hey guys, Nichole Gunn.
And today we have a very special guest. He is a great friend of ours. He is a former co-worker and a superstar in the healthcare, IT, and consulting industry. We've got Julian Jordan. Julian, would you like to introduce yourself to...
Thank you so much for that gracious intro. I don't know about superstar, but I try. So my name is Julian Jordan. I currently run my own healthcare IT company focused on cybersecurity for hospitals, clinics, kind of you name it. In the healthcare space, we facilitate cybersecurity penetration testing for those groups to make sure that their data is safe.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you, I read your LinkedIn description of all the stuff you do, and I was going to read it and be like, can you break this down in layman's terms? Because it is complicated, but you already did it.
Yeah, an extensive background. Really, I just like to invest my time and myself into things that matter to me and matter to people, and just try to be as helpful as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I feel like he did give you an okay intro. I feel like he left off, he owns a dog grooming company now, mobile dog grooming company. Let me get it right.
We just discovered that 5 minutes ago, and it's awesome.
Yeah, he's got his hands on a lot of things. So, anyone in the North Metro Atlanta area, he's your guy.
Yeah, coming this spring, April to be exact, we'll have a grand opening. Aussie Pet Mobile is the name of the company, and we specialize in grooming dogs and cats. So feel free to check us out.
So Aussie Pet Mobile. I'm sorry, I have to go in here. I have two Aussies. Do you specialize in Aussies, or how did you come up with the Aussie name?
Interesting enough. So I'm a franchise owner. I bought into the franchise itself. The company actually began in Australia.
Oh, interesting.
And it was actually bought by a company, JM Family, out of Dallas, Texas, to become more of a larger franchise across the United States. So they're actually in almost every state, with the exception of Georgia. So I'll actually be the first one to open a franchise here.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I was going to ask about the Aussie thing. I was like, all you entrepreneurs and business owners and executives, there's an Aussie somewhere in the picture. And you have Aussie pet grooming, and you have Aussies, there are other executives, they all have Australian Shepherds. It's the dog of choice for
you really do have
successful people.
Too.
You have two Aussies.
I would have.
She's double successful.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there, you guys. Come on. No, I would have 10 if my husband would not be such a mean guy and let me. He shoots all my hopes and dreams for another one down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's dogs and cats. We were talking about this earlier. My father-in-law has 7 poodles and 9 cats, and just to see the joy that it brings to him and his wife's face, I mean, it's amazing. And the fact that when you're trying to transport 7 poodles to the groomer, you have to do it in shifts because you just can't load them all.
Never have thought about that.
Trailer.
Exactly. So to have somebody to come to your house makes it a lot easier.
We do, and it's so great. They go right out. They know what's happening, and they're like, okay, it's time for my bath, and then they come right in. They go right back to playing. It's the easiest thing. Whereas when I go to the vet, they're like, oh.
Yeah.
We don't want to go there.
Yeah. We don't want to get in the kennel and do all that stuff.
No, they don't at all. And I don't blame them. I don't really want to do that either.
Yeah. No, true.
You guys at dog shops, you're like, yay. And then you pull up to the parking lot. You're like, oh, what am I doing here?
Well, but you know what? No. Even with maintenance, right? My own maintenance. I have to get my hair done, and I'm of a certain age. We go every 4 to 6 weeks. And then you have to do it. I don't always want to do it. There are some days I wake up, I'm like, oh, I have to make that drive, and I have to sit there for so long. And so, not that that's quite the same for a dog, and I get that they're done a lot quicker, but I imagine it's equatable.
Well, absolutely. And imagine having to get into a cage to get to that appointment. I don't want to be transported in a cage.
I don't want to be transported in a cage either. Exactly. Yeah, totally. So, you're right. I feel like the car's cage enough. All right, so go ahead, Adam. I know you're going to dive in before I went down the path of Aussies.
And just a side note, I had a much better intro for you that I thought up last night right when I was falling asleep, and I was like, oh, I'll remember it tomorrow, and I didn't. So it was just like, dude, I had you set up. But then I would wake up and I'd be up all night because I got to wrote it down. It's kind of a catch-22.
You've got to keep that notepad with the pen next to the bed.
But then you wake up.
Any great idea, just wake up and just jot it down.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the next time you're on a podcast, it's going to be killer. Well, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah.
You're going to get up, play the drums, take off your shirt, and throw it? Because that's what I feel like we need.
Can I?
I hope so.
Yeah. I feel like HR would be called if I did.
Who cares? You know how many hits you were going to get? Viral.
So, pet grooming, shirtless me, got those covered. Let's talk about healthcare.
Love it. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So like, yeah, like that's what I mean. Like another overview of what your company does, because it is complicated.
You're doing cybersecurity, but is this just healthcare companies, or do you go into any company?
Specifically healthcare. So my background, when I first started my career, it started in ophthalmology. So I managed a couple of clinics, worked at Emory out here in Atlanta, and really got a feel for working with patients and working specifically with doctors and managing doctors. So for me, healthcare is very familiar, and noticing and understanding the gaps that exist when it comes to protecting data, for me, it only made sense. I'd also like to just add to that as well. Within healthcare, as far as we are ahead in so many other areas of technology and different industries, healthcare, unfortunately, is really behind the times in that.
I have a story. So this actually scared the hell out of me. So I went to, a little TMI, but we all ladies go to their OBs every year. And so I went in this year for my annual, and the doctor comes. It was really weird because usually the nurse comes in to talk to you first and you do the blood work, all the things. And but my actual doctor comes in and he's acting really strange. Of course, in my head, I'm like, oh shit, what is happening? And excuse my language, guys, but this is how you feel when you're in that moment. And he sits down and he proceeds to tell me, hey, we switched to a new system. Unfortunately, a lot of our files were lost. You had an irregular, we're going to get really personal, guys, an irregular pap smear. You've gone 1 year without us testing it. That can, and if it's cancerous, that can actually be a really dangerous thing. Right. And so I sit there and I go, I'm sorry, what did you just tell me? And it turned out to be a fluke. It was nothing. So, thank God for that. But ultimately, to your point, when we were talking about this, we were talking earlier about switching platforms and all that goes into it, and just, the files in general, to know that I went for a year and could have had cancer undiagnosed. That is a really scary, just how dated that was. My first realization of how dated the practice really is, that no one knew. And he said, yeah, it happened to 3 people. So, and you were unfortunately one of 3.
Well, it's like their medical knowledge is up to date, but then everything else about running the business and the informational structure and all that stuff is...
To your point, that's totally correct. Mm-hmm. I mean, just up until 10 years ago, maybe, practices were really demanded to be on an electronic medical record system. For the longest time, everything was kept in files on paper.
Yeah.
And to pull a patient's chart, you would have to go to a large room with a bunch of papers. Sometimes your paper in your chart might actually end up in another chart.
Yeah.
Just little instances like that, which are really scary to think about.
Huge life
people.
Impact.
Yeah, exactly. The impact that it has on the patient.
Well, and it's interesting too, the impact on the patient, but also the doctors, because now I think Obama did some really great things. And one of those things was, and I don't know all the nuances, you guys, so don't quote me on any of this, but ultimately making, like, you had to cure people. You had to get them what they needed, the medicine they needed. They were supposed to improve, right? Or you could get into trouble for that. And, here it is, like, how do you help someone improve if you honestly don't know what's going on because the files aren't correct?
Right.
Like, it's almost, you're set up for double whammy. Actually, one of my primary care physician, he and I have a really good relationship, and he was telling me, he said, Nichole, we don't have good staff. He said, I'm inputting my own notes into the system now because I don't trust anyone else to do it. And he's a little OCD, which is why I love him, because so am I. And, so he spends time with you, and, it's a very thorough appointment. So he was like, no, in order for me to give my patients the right kind of treatment and make sure that they're set up for he calls it longevity. I'm doing it myself now. Wow. Because he doesn't trust the people, but he also worries about the systems all the time. So it's, furthermore, and what I'd like to dive into a little bit is, why, so you're doing something great. You're going in with cybersecurity, you're fixing something that I think cybersecurity, there's so much growth opportunity there. So you're addressing one of the fundamental issues, but there are all these other issues too that no one, and why is that? Why is no one going, okay, we can come up with better systems? So
for something as important as
especially with AI everywhere, can you not use like some sort of agent to start putting in the data? Like, can you just almost like old fax machines or scanners? Can you scan it in and the system just gets it? Like, how do people avoid that?
Well, I think there's a lot of legalese when it comes to healthcare. Yeah. There's a lot of things to consider when you're talking about patient data and HIPAA and all of the regulations that go into handling that sensitive information. So it's interesting, from what you just said about the physician that you're working with, that he only trusts himself to do it, because what we train people is that your staff are truly the first line of defense when it comes to cybersecurity. It starts with your staff understanding the policies and procedures that you should have within your environment to keep things safe. What happens is people get busy, carelessness happens, mistakes happen, but those mistakes can lead to detrimental impact. I've seen within ophthalmology, one clinic that I worked with for about 4 years, I think we were targeted twice for a ransom attack, where essentially they held the data, they got a hold of the data, and they wouldn't give it back until a specified amount was transferred into an account.
You're talking about the patient data.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Yes.
That's terrible.
So those ransomware attacks happen, and they can be very costly to an organization, especially when you're talking about the patient data that you have specific to your audience, right?
Yeah.
That data is very, very sensitive and has to be protected.
I can't imagine being the owner of that practice and having that happen, and you're just like,
Well, what do you do?
the crippling anxiety that comes with something like that.
But fair question. So what do you do? I mean, maybe do you know, and how does he handle it?
We paid the ransom.
For that one,
Oh,
yeah.
that
for
sucks
both
so
of them.
bad.
Is that like a trend? Like people doing that
Absolutely.
with data stuff?
Absolutely.
Like, what kind of trends do you see in healthcare IT that you deal with or that you're focused on? Or
Well, mainly, I'd say cybersecurity and beefing up the cybersecurity has become so important now because of AI, things like AI, especially too now with telehealth. Telehealth has become really, really big, where they're making it so easy for patients to see doctors without actually having to go to the office. So with encryption of those lines, those phone lines, those televisit appointments, that's become really, really huge, because at any given time, if you're not properly protected, those calls can be recorded, they can be taken. There's a lot of sensitive information that can be on the loose, if you will, for someone who's trying to do very nefarious things.
yeah.
So cybersecurity has become more and more important, I'd say, over the last 5 years or so, just because of all of the technological advancements we've seen in other areas.
People could scam you into giving your info too with fake video AI and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You know
I
that
live in a cave. Why?
actually there was who was it that I think it was on the I was seeing something, I think it was on the BBC, but they had posted something. I can't remember who the author was. I'll have to go back and try to find it. But ultimately, he was basically doing an article that something to the effect of maybe Elon Musk is actually, he said, and to be clear, this is not, he wasn't saying I think that Elon's definitely doing this. There's no confirmation of that. But in a world, what if he was building his entire this sort of world where we can kind of go off grid? We don't have to worry about that as much with the Winnebagos and the
You can already do that.
the EV charging, et cetera, huh?
You can already do that.
You can, but he took it to a different place where it was like, go buy your 40,000 acres or your 5,000, whatever it is that you want, but do it close enough to one of those charging stations. You plug your little Winnebago in, you drive it right back, and it takes care of the housing crisis, the power crisis, all the things, right? And I was trying to say electric power and something else. I lost it, but nonetheless, it was an interesting theory, right?
So you're not off the grid if you're like, but plug into our charging stations. That defeats the purpose of
Well,
off the
and I
grid.
think it was something tying into
Agree.
Starlink, so Starlink controlled it all. Well, that or he's the ultimate data collector. That's pretty brilliant.
We're grown-ups.
Well, I think Elon is probably the number one data collector.
Kind way of putting it.
Because when you control the data, when you have the data, you have power in a sense. Because when you can do so much with that data, chop it up, analyze it, and make decisions based off of that data and influence people. So,
Do you ever worry that, in cybersecurity in general, that the wrong person could go in and start setting up their own cybersecurity companies and ultimately steal the data? I mean, that's kind of the next thing, right?
1,000%. Yeah, you could set up a whole scam company and convince people you have this legit online presence, the AI videos. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. You can create a botnet to go out and like farm reviews for your fake company.
100%.
Like you can set up an entire ghost thing and then have people come on and get data. And I mean, it's terrifying.
Well, yeah. I mean, how did, it's weird.
But we got Julian on the case and I'm happy you're at it.
well, I mean, that's a great thought, Nichole, just because people do that. I mean, that's the thing
So
that
you already
people
know
do.
that it
Yeah,
happens.
that's the thing that people
Sheesh.
do. Yeah, and then you get what you want out of the attack, and then you move on. So the thing really is to try to get ahead of it and vet who it is that you're working with. Again, you can't say enough of just being able to do Google reviews and talk to other people who have used these services, making sure that you do your due diligence about who it is that you're working with and who you're trusting with your data.
Like looking up like if they're board certified and if that board's
Exactly.
real and all that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about that a little bit because you're right. That is really interesting. So there are Google reviews, but to your point, that can be farmed now. And Google, I do think, probably does the best job of trying to prevent that from happening. But there are major sources I don't go to anymore because I'm afraid of that very thing, right? So what are some of the things that people can do, especially doctors who might need your services, to go through and say, okay, how do I know that this guy's legit?
So what we actually do is we have a contact form where we don't ask for any information from you up front except for just what your request is and your contact information. We also provide NDAs so that there's an agreement between us and the company who's wanting to use our services. And simply, we encourage them to talk to some of our other previous customers.
But like directly.
Directly,
Yeah.
directly, not through text message, email. Actually get on the phone and talk to them and have them tell you about their experience working with us, and what the outcome and the impact actually served for working with us.
That's
like
smart.
a real referral.
Like
real
referral.
referrals.
Real,
right?
real.
That's some customer engagement.
Absolutely.
Like especially when yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, nowadays everybody's so disconnected, but connected, with email,
Fake
phone.
connected, yeah.
Exactly. It's like fake connecting. But being able to actually have someone to talk to another person, especially on a topic as serious as cybersecurity,
Mhm.
right? I think that takes the angst out of wanting to work with someone because you now have a trusted review, if you will, of the actual source.
It's interesting. Cybersecurity is so important, and it's a top 5 priority for most major organizations. But as you start getting down into smaller companies, and I'm gonna kind of take a step back. I think as people, we expect that from the likes of like a Target or a big bank or even a small bank, like because that's where your head instantly goes of worry. You don't really think about these other nuances, right? Like healthcare. Maybe my attorney, a lot of us have attorneys for different reasons, right? And so there's so many types of businesses that should be thinking about cybersecurity, especially here in the metro area, right? And Atlanta's a big city, but across the globe, and I just don't think that they are. I don't think that we understand it enough to be
Absolutely.
to realize the true threat at that level.
Absolutely. People don't think about cybersecurity until something bad happens.
Right.
And then when that happens, then you're scrambling to come up with how do you fix it? How do you make sure it doesn't happen again? And for my company, MedFuture, what we actually focus on are those smaller companies where they might not have the resources in-house to monitor these things, do the penetration testing, do the vulnerability acts to make sure that they truly are protected. IT departments in general, among companies, are some of the most understaffed areas within a company. A lot of that goes into a lack of knowledge or a lack of personnel that has the knowledge to effectively do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's costly to actually hire someone to do these types of things to keep these companies safe. They're not cheap. And you have to have someone who knows what they're doing, and to pay for that experience can be costly to a smaller company.
So boy, it's critical.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Well, to your point, a ransom, especially 2 or 3, that's very costly. And hell, if you don't pay it, what does that cost you? It could cost you your business and your livelihood.
Yes.
And I think
License and all that.
well, that's just it, right? Like there are threats that we just don't think about. If I'm a doctor, I'm not thinking about that. But my niece is going to med school. We're going to sit down and go over all the things that you are going to have to do this. And for someone who already has so much debt from school, this is another thing that they're going to have to pay for. And I don't think that you think about that coming out of school.
Right.
I didn't until this very second. I never would have imagined that my mind just doesn't go there.
Right. And then, and 2, I think most importantly, you got to keep it in focus as well, right? Ultimately, all of this protection, all of this confidentiality, all of these systems and processes you put in place are to protect the patient. It all comes down to the patient. So if you're wanting to deliver excellent patient care and service, these are types of things that you don't need to ignore, because ultimately it all comes down to how the patient is being treated at your facility.
Ooh, that is part of patient care.
Patient.
Look at that. Yeah.
It's all connected.
So,
It's all connected.
So like most of your customers are like practices and offices and ophthalmology mostly, or
Ophthalmology, dermatologist, honestly, any practice you could think of that's healthcare specific.
yeah.
does that include dental, like orthodontics and stuff like that? Yeah, because that's another thought. Yeah,
Correct.
Psychologist too. Woo-wee. Could you imagine what you could do if you could get your hands on someone's psych record? There's,
I think we've got a cyber threat right here. She's already got her mind going, and you can imagine what we could do.
Her brain is like an AI generator for like threat analysis. She's like, oh my God, this could go wrong.
But
that makes her.
It's so true. Exactly, it does, because it's a really good point. Because to your, if you did have that type of information, how you could use that to threat an individual, use it to whatever diabolical plan that you want to put in place, that you have the information.
Well, as a marketer, it's, when you get that kind of information, honestly, okay, this is going to take a direction that you two may not love, but if you are stealing information, we should probably talk, because all I'm saying is, hear me out. Told you. But think about it. You're getting this information. This data. When you're marketing, emotion is a big thing. You're playing. And so emotions, all I'm saying is, there are probably opportunities bigger than just ransom. You just criminals stink. Use our heads here.
Like, you can't have solutions without holes, and she's here to poke them.
Yeah,
It's
okay. Well,
so true. Well, but I mean, you have a great point. I mean, there's so much if you have the data, you have the power.
that's you said it earlier, and it stands true. So let's go back for a second, right? How do you so by and large, the listeners are going to be marketing and salespeople, right? And in some of the different industries we're talking to. For you, how do you go about marketing your business? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're into all these different things. You're going to have to make some investments, right, if you want to continue to grow. So how are you going about that?
So a strategy that I've found useful, and I've learned it over the last few years, and actually became certified in it, is account-based marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And that's truly identifying different imperatives based off of the customers and creating profiles and grouping them together and helping not only them understand ways in which you can help them with those imperatives that they have, but you also create a network of individuals that might be able to share trade secrets to help each other.
Sure.
So not only just being a person who's providing a service, but also being a connector by networking with these individuals and connecting them with other people who are in similar situations like them.
It makes you a pretty big partner for your customers.
Absolutely.
Just like, hey, I'm here to fix
That we're
this.
seeing, right? I think one of the things, it's interesting. So you read market reports all the time, and they say that, over the coming years, we're going to see a lot of influence marketing is going to kind of die out, right? And I thank God for some extent, because they're all full of shit, right? They're, every makeup product is the best, and every company is the best. And no, they're not. Come on, guys. So it's going to be interesting, though, because I think that there is going to be something that I'm interested to see how the flip to networking comes back sort of mainstream, right? Because I trust you telling me more than I trust the influencer telling me. The influencer's in it for some reason. Or I'm not going to use any names, but we have these analysts out there, right? And these analysts, they produce these reports. They say, here are the best companies to work with. Bullshit. You don't know that. You cannot say that. You know why? Because I worked in, and I'll use our industry for a long time, and you're just getting paid to interview them and put their information out there. You're just an influencer in a different scale with a pretty word like analyst. Like, come on, dudes. I'm not saying that the data they aren't producing in a lot of other ways is not good, because I do gobble some of that up, but it does make me second guess it. Whereas if I have someone that I trust to talk to cybersecurity, because like say I own my own business, I'd much rather you say, girl, what are you doing?
Right.
I'm going to take that to heart.
It's like word of mouth is going to circle back around. Like the internet, they're like, oh, we have all these wonderful things like Google and all these systems and Google reviews and influencers. But now it's such a game system that people are looking for the network and partners to work with versus just, like a Google review or something like that.
I mean, nowadays it's what's in it for me to promote this or promote that, right? Mm-hmm. But when you come at it when working with customers, as you said it earlier, as a true partner, where I just want to see you thrive.
Yeah.
Because if I come in authentically wanting to see you thrive, and I have tools, I have resources, I have people that can help you do that, who are you more likely going to trust? Me?
Right.
The person who's truly trying to do right by you.
Like real value.
Right. Or that person who's getting paid to say this or that.
The guy on the internet who's only promoting you, but 10 other people and saying the same exact face, right? And letting AI generate their, what is it called? Paid content.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Anyways, doesn't matter.
Reviews.
Monetize.
Get it nowadays.
But there's authenticity, and I think it's interesting, right? You're not just helping them thrive. You're literally protecting their lives when you think about it, because we go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? There are certain things we need in order to survive, and if you own your own practice, you won't thrive, and you can't survive if you don't do the right things, right? And not just you're quite literally protecting all of their patients too, because I mean, hell, what if they held an office ransom? What if they start doing it to people?
Right.
There's so much baked in that, which is interesting. Weird question. How do you feel about going? You gotta go to the doctor's office and they go, "Let me have your driver's license." Oh, and you have to fill in your social security number. No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I've reached the age where I go, no, thank you.
I feel like on tape or say even if it's digitized though, right?
What do they do with it? They key it right into the computer.
Right.
But hopefully he's protected him. And that's okay.
You gotta start. I'm gonna give you a list.
Right?
Here's some doctor's offices you should call and start making sure that they're protected.
All of your personal physicians.
Exactly. And my dentist, let's not forget them. They're great.
The Nichole ABM. Zach, let it.
Your hunt list. Go.
Well, I mean, that's a really good point, though, and there are things that you can say no to, right? And I ask questions, like, what are you going to do with this? What do you need it for? I'm going to give you exactly what you need, not just giving you the kitchen sink. Like, I'm going to just give you what you need to do what you need to do for my visit here. Outside of that, you're not getting anything additional. And that's, people don't realize that they have the power. You have the power to say no.
I never even thought to do so. Like the doctor's like, we need all this. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
It's like, but do you?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, your social exists. It's not, like, I feel like if they're going to steal it, they're going to get it.
Sure.
It's out there. What is me telling my doctor to go
So
off?
a couple of years ago, believe it or not, I was at a conference.
I believe that.
Well,
Okay.
I said it at the wrong point. Okay. I was at a conference, and believe it or not, someone stole my wallet.
Yeah.
In Seattle, they have horrible pocket pickers. Yeah. I was with Jarrell Jenkins, and we were there for Moz, and it was really funny. That was where we heard Gerard Kelly like, Nichole, holy cow.
Oh,
like
no.
across the...
Hi, Gerard.
Hey, Gerard, love you. Anyways, like, oh my God, he's here. And then we were going opposite escalators, the whole thing. But anyways, I went to go into Moz to check in. And then the funny part is I had flown to, a few days before the conference to Oregon. We were going to do a few days there, my husband, and then drive up, and he was flying home for the conference, and I was going to the conference. I actually left my wallet in the hotel, in the safe, because I always put all my stuff in the safe. I usually don't take it out when we go hiking and stuff. And so we had to turn around when we got to Seattle, go all the way back to Oregon, pick it up, and then drive all the way back. Oh, my husband was very happy. Yeah, we had to do that. And the irony in it is, as I said, well, we'll just have them FedEx it. And Jeff was like, oh, no. I reminded you on several occasions to get it. And I hate when he's right. He did. So we're going to get in the car and we're going to go all the way back. Great. Portland specifically. So we go back. We end up having dinner there. We drive all the way back. It's been a long day. So I go, I'm not checking in tonight. I'm just going to check in. I'll go down early for the conference, whatever, check in. I go to walk down and I have this Tory Burch bag, and it's like a hobo bag. And anyways, I didn't zip it all the way. And I knew I didn't zip it all the way because I was trying to get things out, breath mints, etc., so I could go and check in and people weren't dying. And when I got in there, I go, to check in, you have to show your license. And so I go, oh my God, I guess I left it in the hotel again, which I'm going to have to walk back. My husband's going to see me and go, are you serious? You left your wallet in the hotel again. I walk all the way back. I can't find my wallet anywhere. But to be fair, I did call Jeff first. Like, I know, before you say anything, please just check. You don't see it. Okay, I got to come back and look. Turns out, sure enough, we start seeing all these charges pop up. So I'm just pop up. The point in saying all this, the first thing I do is lock up all of my, what is it called, where they monitor your, like, like, what is it called? My credit. Thank you. My credit. Yep. Mm-hmm. So freezing everything. Oh. And I was talking to one of the agents there, and I forget which one. There were 3. And she was like, look, basically give me a whole coaching session because, good job, Nichole. And she said, you never give anyone your social security number or your driver's license. And I've carried that with me to this day, but I don't, I also understand it from the practice, right? The doctor, because that's what they use. Essentially, if you don't pay your bill, like this is how they
open up
collections.
credit, credit agents, right?
Yeah.
And so there is kind of this duality, which I understand, but at the same time, it's like, how do you protect yourself, but also
It's a system of competing interests, just all of it.
Well, so
You
ultimately,
need yours, and they need theirs, and
well, and how competing
what
is it?
we
When
do.
in my best interest, I have to see the doctor, right? So it's like this whole trifecta.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in most cases, especially if you're an established patient for a long time, at some point, you've probably given it to them anyways. So it's almost like, again, going back to that question, are you sure you don't have it already?
That's a good one.
Ask questions. I think it's more important to be inquisitive about giving your personal information to anyone just because they ask for it.
Yeah, I hate doing that, and I'm even getting to a point. No, you don't have to do it. Do you remember the olden days back in the
I'm
90s?
not that old.
Yeah, I mean, neither.
Start saying the good old days.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. He grew up in the 90s soon.
The same, but I don't talk like that.
But back in the days, you guys, you would go to the grocery store,
Yeah.
and I remember this. My mother had to do it. You would write a check because that was and you had to give your driver's license, and they would key in the numbers at the top of your check and put it in. And so even grocery stores, now that I'm thinking about it, house a buttload of your data.
But like I've seen grocery stores in places. What is it, 2025, and they're finally going. We don't take checks, guys. They're just starting to put out signs. Like I haven't seen
But
a
it's
check.
not just checks. They have your credit card information. Most of us have reward programs through them. Yeah, I don't love Kroger's produce, but you can bet your bottom
I
dollar I'll
don't
go
think
there and buy
they're
certain.
storing that stuff. If you're writing a check,
'Cause, like, is it-
sure, but I don't think many people like. I haven't seen a person bust out a check. Like when they used to have little fold-out tables.
I disagree. Whole Foods, you know how I just scan my hand. It's got all my information in there. They know who I am. That's how I check out. No, I do a hand scan,
What?
not a handstand. A hand scan.
What are they scanning on your hand?
Biometrics.
Yeah.
The eyes are
At
coming.
Whole Foods?
So they literally know everything about you.
Yeah, I've been to like I don't go to bougie grocers apparently. Ingles is like they don't even do tap to pay. Like I gotta
It's not bougie.
Pull out the full card. They probably still take checks.
I gotta get out.
Not hating on Ingles. Not hating on Ingles.
Y'all got good fruit.
They have great fruit.
Yeah,
they really
and
do.
Vernors. My wife's from Michigan.
Oh, Vernors.
Fuck Vernors.
That's a ginger ale, actually.
And ginger beer.
It's a ginger beer. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's Northern Healthcare. You should familiar.
My mother-in-law, she loves Vernors.
Mhm.
And like that's the first time I've ever heard of it. I drank it. It gets
It's
you.
got the ginger burn.
It
Like
does.
it's Korean.
Oh man, it'll get you.
But that's like when they get sick, an upset stomach,
Oh man,
or like a cold, sniffles, like Vernors. I have to go.
some Schweppes.
So good old
Schweppes. Good old Schweppes.
I was like down here in Georgia, like being born and raised here at Sprite. Like they.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Us bougie folks, I just chop up ginger, put it in my water, and like I'll boil it, usually with a tea or something. But just
I thought you were gonna be like, I just chop up ginger and just like
drain it out.
like a water and ginger.
Pour it in, yeah.
Just take some hit.
Well, I eat it. Basically, a lot of the Asian food I have fresh ginger, and it's delicious. It's nothing like a big piece of turmeric. It is.
Let's try that.
I can't imagine the toothbrush experience after that, like with minty toothbrush and trying to get ginger out of your teeth. What that's gonna be like?
Yeah, you floss and then
You could put that in a haunted house. That sounds horrible. Like trying to brush ginger out of your teeth with
Tell us, Nichole, does it stick that bad?
Oh,
Okay.
I don't. Definitely not for a haunted house.
That was aggressive, Adam.
It was. Sorry. So back on track. Really, you're not just building customers. You're building an ecosystem.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
like we weren't landing the plane at all. But I mean, like, that's a term bounced around in our industry. You remember, like, it's like ecosystem. It's like a referral network. And I mean, like, that's kind of a marketing tactic.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you're helping and being helpful, but it's a whole ecosystem you're building around you and your product.
Right, because if you think about it, a dermatology office being able to connect with another dermatologist and talk about gaps that they might have in their security plans and what's helped them and what hasn't. I mean, that kind of goes a long way with building relationships among your customers.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that, right? Like, think about if you're talking. He says ecosystem, I say ecosystem. So just bear with us.
Tomato,
But
tomato.
exactly. But it's like if I'm thinking of a dermatologist, they may want to have network with plastic surgeons. or maybe a dentist, right? Because you're really talking about presenting your, and I know that a lot of that, the cancers and plastic surgery is probably the only feeling better about yourself, right? So you're talking about creating. When I think of an ecosystem, it's creating all like these multifaceted sort of groups, right? So that they can network outside of just themselves. Because we talk about referral network, right? That's it's I think so much further advanced, which is what I think goes back to the whole networking piece you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I love that, because to your point, the referral networking piece of it all, being able to meet different people within those different areas, and next thing you know, you might have a different type of bond where you're now able to refer patients to this place or that place. And
but that also works out for you, right? Because the more you can bring into that network, the more they're going to refer you to them. They all go to these big seminars every year, and they should be talking about this. That's an interesting angle too. Do you ever go to events and actually talk about the importance of cybersecurity when these big doctor conventions, right? And how important it is for them to start protecting themselves and their patients?
Yeah, no, there are several events that are actually held all across the country, where we have different types of keynote speakers that have either been in a situation like the physicians, and they've gotten themselves out of it because they've put together a crisis plan, and they're educating these people on the importance of doing so and helping them understand how to get started and having longevity in that plan, which is one of the biggest things. If you don't have a plan and you don't know where to start the plan, you're just leaving yourself out there to be vulnerable.
Totally.
So those are very interesting, because you get a lot of perspectives from just different types of practices and different types of models that each group are using. So if the dermatology, depending on how they're storing their patient data and the type of platform that they're using, they might have hacks that someone else might not know of that are actually using the same type of platform, or electronic medical record platform, that is. So just being able to have that information sharing is extremely important, and that's a lot of what we do at those conferences.
Yeah, you should certainly keynote a few, right? Just I think it's just a concept that we as people, let alone a doctor, they're so worried about obtaining all of that knowledge and keeping up to date with, new medicines and things that are coming out, and not just medicines, but, in healthcare in general, the things that all the science is what I should really say that comes out. Like cybersecurity's got to sit in the back. Far in the back. It's just not. Yeah, I don't think it's top of mind.
Absolutely, yeah. They just want to practice medicine. That's what they want to focus on,
because that's their one specialty.
Because that's what their one specialty is, and that's what they do, and that's what they're there for their patients. It's up to the management team to really have those types of security plans in place, and to understand the type of personnel that they need to accomplish those security plan goals.
Yeah.
Rather than somebody who can just file papers.
Correct.
Like, you got to do the whole It's like the friend of yours that you were telling me about, who has a business, and they teach people like specialists, like lawyers or doctors. Like, that's, a heart surgeon can't help you with a tendon in your ankle because all they know is this. That is the one thing that they know. And but then when it comes to running the business and doing all that, just complete blindness to it.
Well, and there's a coaching opportunity, right? So all of you Vistage folks tuning in, I hear about, we all go into businesses and everyone's getting coaching in businesses, but what about coaching doctors and medical staff about how to keep things safe? We have to do this annual cybersecurity thing here, and it is dreadful, by the way.
It's so much better than it used to be, though.
That's fair. You remember some of it, like, okay, don't leave passwords sitting out for people to see. And if there's a stranger in the building, someone yells, stranger danger. Like, we get it, right? We doing that since the 80s.
I don't remember that in the training, but I like it.
Well, I'm marketing. I'm adding to the story. And hey, if you had stranger danger in there, we'd enjoy it more. That's all I'm saying. Have the little white van pull up with a creepy guy.
It's got to be egg yolk. It's got to be the egg yolk color here. With no windows.
No way. They're all dark tinted. Yeah, it's just in the front. That's amazing. But going back, that maybe that's an interesting expansion for you, Eva, when the time comes, and you want to expand the business. It's actually going in and coaching, not just selling the cybersecurity technology and services. It's, hey, I can help you set your staff up for better training and
right,
or creating your own curriculums. I'm sorry, this is
no, it's great. There are some HR teams within companies hire out for that, and they'll bring consultants in, and they'll do the overall overview of cybersecurity, how to keep things safe, and really kind of work through a contingency plan. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something that exists now. And yeah, to your point, I mean, to be able to have the resources to go out to each company and have that personalized touch is really important as well, because it does mean more when you actually have someone talking to you and working with you instead of just sitting at a computer and going through modules.
Well, and you're so right, the module part. So it's funny, and they got wise to it. I remember like 4 or 5 years ago when we first started doing the module videos, you could just fast forward to the end and take the test. And you fail it a couple times.
Still can.
But you're going to, no, now halfway through it, they have these like in the middle tests that you have to take. And I know because I kept failing, like, what the hell? I got all the answers right. Oh, well, I didn't take the 2 in the middle.
Yep.
So and I remember, I think it came up as like, you missed 10 questions. Like, there was only 5 on the end. What are you talking about? Well, I missed the 10 in the middle. I never took.
Well, some programs too now, some of those programs now, they won't even allow you to fast forward. Like, you literally have to sit there and watch the whole video without being able
Like
to.
they take off the drag bar.
Yeah,
where you can't do that at all.
Exactly.
Is that something you do for people? Like the actual training and bringing that stuff on whenever you help consult on their cybersecurity? Do you do like training for their staff or any of that? Or?
No, we mainly focus on the penetration testing. Mm-hmm. So finding the gaps in their security plans and their current model of security. So essentially we work with either their IT team or their management team to determine where they have gaps and where they are vulnerable.
Yeah.
And give them a plan of how to fix those gaps and making sure that they have a long-term plan of maintaining those gaps being filled. So that's what we focus on.
Do you ever go in and have a doctor go, nah, no thanks? Once they know that there's a gap.
I will say, I haven't heard a doctor say that. I've heard a doctor say, well, let me send you over to Mary over here. She handles sort of that stuff. She keeps the passwords and all that type of stuff secure. And I talked to Mary, and Mary might not know the first thing about actually protecting passwords or why we should not leave things open. Why we shouldn't leave file cabinets open, or why we should lock this, or, so it's there's a gap in, I think, just basic understanding of how we operate in an office with information.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then there's that gap of, well, who's actually responsible for it if you don't have the personnel to truly be focused on it? So who should actually head this up? Who do we need to be in touch with? And going forward, after we discover these gaps and we give you a solution, who maintains it? Who's going to own it? And it is like, I think we talked about this earlier. It is expensive to keep that level of staff on your team, because cybersecurity professionals are not cheap. IT professionals are not cheap. But again, when you think about the risk reward aspect of it all, right? You even if you don't have anyone on staff to maintain all of this, work with a third-party group to do it.
At least build best practices.
Build best practices. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Have a plan and make sure that everyone within the organization is on board with that plan and that they've signed off, that they acknowledge and understand that plan.
But that's the plan. I agree with you, though. If it's me and I can't afford the staff yet, right? Especially young doctors coming out of school, get that third party. Make sure you have a third party who's protecting your data and your client's data, or your patient's data in this case, because it is so important.
Right.
And most of us don't have a lot to lose. It's expensive out there.
At least get Mary to stop keeping all the passwords on the post-it by her computer.
Right. Just get Mary to stop.
Yeah.
Just get her to stop.
Shame, Mary. Shame.
Mary, come on.
But we love Mary. She's really good at a lot of things, but there's just certain things that we have to have more caution on and just protect a little bit more.
But it's not her area of expertise.
Absolutely.
That.
Absolutely.
It's not most people's. You wouldn't even consider it. It's one of those things that you don't think about it until you think about it, and you're like, oh.
No, I can remember when I was 18, I worked in a bank, and getting a lecture about don't put your from the guy who was actually he was the chief technology officer there, and he was actually went to school with his daughter, so I knew him personally. Great human, and he got on to me because I pulled my credit or my debit card at the time, pulled it out, and I had a sticky note around it. And he was, is that your password? Nichole, I just saw your password. I got, now again, I knew this man very well, easily a 25 minute lecture on why I shouldn't do this. So do you know what I did instead? I was like, okay, that's a good point. He walked out, I pretended to throw it in the garbage, got it right back out of the garbage, folded it up, and hid it further in my wallet, just in case. It is not hard to remember a 4-digit code. I could remember the 4-digit code, but I wanted the security in my mind that I always had it. Ridiculous.
Well, with technology now and like smartphones, they now have these password apps. embedded within the actual operating software of so my iPhone, you have a password app that you can store all of your passwords in, and it can be password protected. So I always tell people, because, we have so many passwords to so many things, don't just auto save the passwords. Actually have a secure method of keeping your passwords available so that you have a way to reference them when you need them, but they're not just out in the open and available for someone else to steal.
That's a great point. And I actually use one, but what's interesting? So I have one for all the passwords I remember. But the other day I got a new computer in Google. I'm getting Chrome installed, and it's like, oh, by the way, I had 50 some odd passwords that I had duplicated, right? And so they're like, you need to go and update these, and then some 40 that were at risk, or I can't remember what they said. And I was like, oh, I don't even remember opening accounts to have this stuff. And I don't think that I did, which actually sent alarm bells off. And I, interesting enough, probably got through half of one of the lists. And I took care of the 911s first, not just the duplicate. But I'm like going, this is time consuming. But at what point am I going to say, okay, but this is also your safety, right? Yeah. So I need to get better about that.
We all do. It's easy to just auto save, and especially if you're going to that site very often, you don't want to have to go back through the process, username, password, all of this. That's right. You just auto save. Yeah.
Or my face or something.
Biometrics. Yeah. Here we go. Let's go. I don't.
Is that what they do at sorry, I'm going to derail it, but at Whole Foods, is it like a fingerprint thing, or they scan
you just scan your hand? It's biometrics, but it's your hand. But at the airport, now it's your eye, depending on what you do.
Yep.
I have not bounced into any of this.
You have not seen it
at all.
Oh, it's definitely a thing.
No, I've gone to the airport recently, and it's my ID.
Sorry.
And my passport.
Fancy like you are.
I'm not.
We don't have time for that. We go, hey, scan, got.
Exactly. Up in the club with Delta, but
I'm up in
there's a lot of stuff I'm just trying to wrap my head around right now. They're here, sign up for our rewards program, and then they're like, we're gonna need to put your hand right here. That's part of it.
What?
At Whole Foods.
Whole Foods. Yeah. Are they we're going to sign you up for this? We need you to put your hand here so you can scan it.
So it's all connected to your Amazon number, right? Because
they bought them out.
So when you go in, you used to key in your phone number to check out, which a lot of people do. You do that at a lot of grocery stores to get your reward points for your purchases. Well, not only does it connect to your account because it's all tied to your phone number, but it also, my credit card is now attached to my hand, right? It hits it and it goes, okay, check out.
I feel like this is something that would alarm a lot of people on the internet if they knew about it. I didn't know.
Every day.
I know, but I didn't know. But I'm saying I remember a bunch of alarmists who would be you're paying.
Go to Whole Foods.
I know.
We'll let you watch me do it's yeah.
I mean, I know where one is.
You just wait until Ingalls gets one.
I know.
And then you're in trouble.
He's going off the grid at that point.
Exactly.
I'm out.
I'm like, where's my Tesla charger? I'm going off the grid. Oh my gosh. I have a lot of questions about how do you segment people and how do you drive engagement, but it seems like building the ecosystem and referrals and providing all that value is a great way to do it.
Yes.
ABM and targeting, but where do you see all of this going in the next 5 years? What are some big things that clients of yours and future clients of yours, call them, we'll put the number up in the website or whatever soon. We'll let them do we'll let him do his shameless plug here in a minute. But what's in the future do you see?
I see, honestly, there being more of a equitable way to manage cybersecurity within the healthcare space. And I say that because we see so many people who don't have the resources to have an IT team to monitor these things.
Yeah.
If you look at reports and things that are out there on the internet, 2025, 2026, so the next 5 years or so, cybersecurity is one of the fastest growing fields. More and more people are getting into the industry. They're getting certified to do these types of things. So I truly see that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see more ways for people to provide the same level of service, but for cheaper.
So scaling.
Yeah. I think so. Just because the data that's being protected is so important, and as we continue to technologically evolve, as people and within the world that we live in, it can't be ignored.
Well, and there's also something to be said about supply and demand. Right now, there's a massive demand because there hasn't been a big supply, right? So you're going to hit that that. Sorry. So you're gonna hit that. I'm bad with mic, guys. That growth, right? At some point, it's gonna kind of plateau out,
Absolutely.
right? And so that makes sense. Like at that point, that's when I think you'll start seeing rates drop, but also, well, actually, probably before as it becomes more competitive.
Yeah, and to as people continue to get smarter and smarter about ways to hack things and to figure out how to get people's data nefariously, there has to be programs and structure set up and provided by these organizations, or they just can't exist. So I think as we continue to see the field itself continue to grow, I think we're also going to see more of a way of ease for organizations within healthcare specifically to have these services available to them. I definitely think that's where we're headed, not because we necessarily want to, I think because we have to.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point.
It's scary out there.
It is scary.
It's scarier. Do you think the threats will scale as well? I mean, like, obviously, we don't know where tech's going. AI, all the AI agents, all that kind of stuff is going to be, like, what can someone with nefarious intent do with access to different AI agents and all that
I think
stuff?
they produced, who was it? I think I read this on, was it the Wall Street Journal? I don't remember. One of the news things that I read. Anyways, there was something that said, like, the top 3 threats are, like, PI data, right? I can't remember where it's set, so what the numbering is lost on me. The nuclear weapon threat, of course, and then there was something about the power grid system and threats to power grids.
Yeah,
They did. There was just something on TV. Again, I think that this was on. This may be on YouTube, but nonetheless, it was one of those reports that was like, yeah, if the grid goes down, people die within like a matter of weeks because we don't know how to take care of ourselves anymore without all the things that we're used to.
yeah.
Scary.
I think about all the people that are, from a medical perspective, that have to have electricity to function, to live. Yeah, that's a scary
All the
way to
different
think
pumps
about it.
and breathers and like people who would.
Oh yeah, they're done immediately, unfortunately, and then because even the backups aren't going to turn off as a power grid piece. But
I mean,
knowing that,
a backup is
if it's running off of power, some sort of power, and the grid goes down,
but the backup produces power. That's the point of a backup.
But for how long?
right?
As long as you have gas or solar or whatever,
Gas,
like
but
that's
isn't
where that
gas
kind
part
of
of
stuff
the grid
comes in.
too. So if there's a true and I don't know all the things that are included in the grid, guys. This is not my area of expertise at all.
We are
use fun
experts
words.
in rabbit holes. That's what we know. Down we go. I'm the same way.
No, but these are that's how thinking gets done. You start coming up with all of these things. But I tell you what, if criminals were to use, we as a society should put all of these like cyber criminals, whatever you want to call them, into a room. They can literally solve the world's problems. They can fix everything.
Or they could come up with some exponentially terrible problems. They're like, how do we make it worse? They could solve it if you were like incentivizing
That's the government.
them.
The government's already do that. I feel like we got that.
They've got that on
covered.
lock.
Yeah, they're good. We don't want them in a room. They get together all the time. They suck.
But you're right, though. So it goes back to that, if you only use your powers for good.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they, because they're now being paid by the government?
I mean,
But the funding behind it would be the government, so it's going to be used for crap.
But I mean, that's what they do now anyways. Like if you have people who are like criminal hackers, they hire them and they put them to use.
They do.
You take the people who know how to poke the holes and find it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I have other thoughts that I can't say about, but then I might end up on the hit list, and I don't want to end up there.
Well, if you think about cybersecurity professionals, I mean, they're essentially just ethical hackers.
Are you an ethical hacker? No, he's not. Oh, that look was like he's like we're.
I won't either.
Ransomware.
Confirmed or denied.
More right there, that face.
And on that note, tell the people about yourself. Plug your business.
Oh, that's
Futures.
Absolutely.
That
camera, definitely. Yeah, you guys come see me at medfuturetech.com for any of your cybersecurity needs, specifically in healthcare. If you're not in healthcare and you are still looking for cybersecurity help, I can certainly refer you to other individuals that I know that are in the field or the industry. So definitely feel free to reach out to me and let me know. I'm trying to figure out which camera I should be looking at, but it's definitely been a pleasure being here with you guys tonight.
Dude, it's so good to see you.
You guys look great. I mean, everything.
We haven't aged a bit.
You haven't. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, besides a little ash on Adam, I mean,
Like, I'm wrinkling as we
Hang on,
speak.
Josh.
And he's like, "You look so good." It's been 5 years.
We do a shame. We actually plug a company, and I'm gonna plug the Aussie Mobile dog grooming.
Aussie Pet
friendly.
Mobile,
Aussie,
yeah.
Aussie Pet Mobile. You guys look them up. Coming to you this spring.
Do you have a jingle? Does the company have a
Oh,
jingle?
where's my jingle?
Oh my gosh. I don't have a jingle, and I don't believe the franchise itself has a jingle, but maybe that's something we could work on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we can maybe put our heads together and come up with.
Yeah,
Love
like
that.
just something absolutely asinine that nobody would ever forget.
Something we could all just do for fun. Like, let's get
Yeah,
together. We'll have a few drinks, and we'll crank it out.
I would love that. That would be perfect.
And then we're gonna make your
Cool.
wife listen to make sure we didn't put anything in there in our drunken state that we should not say. She'll be like, "You idiots!" No.
So the wolf in the middle, I like to. Oh,
Like-
what about at the end?
Woof, woof. I don't know. Maybe there can be I don't know.
Dun, 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 dun.
We can make some weird stuff.
You know what? I sing to my little Aussies all the time. Look at that Aussie. I'm not going to sing it because I'm a horrible singer, but look at that Aussie with the cutie booty. Oh, woof, woof, woof. I literally do it.
I like look at that Aussie with the cutie booty. Oh. Yeah, ding ding, little bell at the end. I like that.
And it works because that's the number one grooming section for us.
Yes. We're having too much fun here, guys.
So great seeing you. Thank you, as always, for joining us today. We will see you on the next one. As for now, we're the Ben Marketers.
Adam House.
Thank you.